Yes, Sheila, we're having class. It's early. I turned it on early. John isn't here yet. And unfortunately, we're having a quiz and I didn't get time to send it to you, but I'll send it to you later, so don't worry about it. You'll do well. I have faith. You're a good student, so don't worry about it. So anyhow, I'm just waiting for John. It's 6:15. We got 15 more minutes, so I turned it on early, trying to make sure it was working. I'm glad to hear that it's working for you, because others have been having trouble with this thing. Soon I'm going to change the whole system and get a whole different way to get on, and much more stable than this. But anyhow, I'll text you back here and have a blessed night. Just listen away. I know you will. Oh, by the way, I got your box ready. I'm going to send it out tomorrow, so you'll probably get it by the weekend, I hope. Do you hear me? So I just sent text you. Hey, Miss Sheila, hello? Oh, okay. Good, my phone. I'm just waiting for John. Did you hear me when I answered you back? Oh, okay, I just wanted to make sure everything's working good. Yeah. Yeah, it's good, because we've been trying to work bugs out here. I'm going to change the system soon and get a better system. But so yeah, but I forgot. I'm not. I got stretched for time, and you can just email you this quiz. So I'll send it to you later. So don't worry about it. It'll be okay. And yeah, or I can read you the questions. You can write the answers down right now if you want. Well, no, I got time because he's not here. Yeah, the hard part's the definitions. I can, because I have the definitions, and then I have the words in the definition beside them, and you have to figure out which one is which. But here are the definitions: A-L-A-M, alum. I don't think I spelled that right. Yeah, and then begotten, so not is B. A should be there. C is intercession. D is everlasting. E is parakletos, and F is wisdom. And then I have the definitions off to the right. What was it? Begotten. So I can read the definitions, and then you can just, just like 1 and 2 and 3, and just put it. First definition is to pray for, make, entreat, and make intercession. And that would be what? That's correct. Use only of sons and daughters viewed in relation to their parents to come into existence, begin to be, receive, being. That's it. Begotten. The next one's everlasting, infinite, and unending future, eternity. That's correct. Skillful, wisdom, wise, wit, to be wise, in mind, word, or act. That's right. One who pleads another's case before a judge, a pleader, counsel for the defense. Parakletos. That's the word for Holy Spirit. And the last one, the prime root, to veil from sight, conceal. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Okay. Question number 2. You can do this right out. It says write out John 1:1. Or you can quote it if you. Yeah, go ahead and say it if you want. Yeah, in the beginning, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God. The Word was God. Yeah, there you go. Okay, you got that. Number 3, how is the structure of God in heaven? And you have to draw this out. And you can just do it. As a matter of fact, it's very simple. Just explain it. Just explain it, real quick. Draw out the structure in heaven. That's pretty simple. Yeah, and we're right. Okay, everlasting, and then who is the everlasting? Yeah, God. You got it. Okay. I know it's kind of hard to do that. Yeah, and what side of the throne is that on? You're facing it right, left, or on the right side if you're turned. Okay, and what else? Okay, you got the everlasting, and you got the I am. The I am, you put it as you're facing, it would be on the left. That's correct. What else goes up there? Nope. Bonk. Bonk. Ding. Okay, you got it. You stumbled through it, but you got it. All right. Yeah. Okay, next question. What verse shows God in heaven? We can come back to that if you want. What verse, book and chapter, verse, shows God in heaven. And you may have it, you may not. You can think about that. Yeah, okay. Number 5. Who was, no, that was 4. No, number 5. Who was the first created being? That's right, correct. How can you prove this? Book, chapter, and verse. Book, chapter, and verse. Book, chapter, and verse. That's how you prove it. Okay, we'll come back. What roles does Jesus play in heaven? Yeah, go ahead and write them down. And you can just do them later and, you know, think about it, because I know it's a lot to think instantly off the top of your head. Done this as much as I have, you know, I can remember it, but I understand why it's tough. Yeah. Hey, who created all things, and where can we find this in Scripture? Yep. Okay, go number 9. In Romans 8:27, what does the Holy Spirit do for you? Romans 8:27, what does the Holy Spirit do for you? Yeah, Mom, you don't have to do it right now. Just write them down and you can think them through. Here comes a toughie. What kind of kingdom does God have? Does God have? What kind of a kingdom does God have? What kind of a kingdom does God have? You think about it. Yeah, there you go. Whenever you get to it, just send, write it, think it through, write it out, then email it back. You know. I'll sit here and weep and wail over the answers. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you guys all like to write books instead of just straight answers sometimes. Well, you're not the only one. There's others do the same thing. My word, if I said a question and they get full, I said, well, you know, in college, every course I took in college, doesn't matter what course it was, they all had these little blue books, and every one was an essay. Every question was an essay, except the math. Yeah. Yeah, we had few far in between of those, I'll tell you. Yeah, it was good. So anyhow, okay, good. Then you're caught up, and I won't have to worry about that. Send it to you then. Okay. You have a blessed time, and he'll be along soon, I hope. And we'll get started. If not, well, you know, because last time he had to take his grandson to college. So he did on Monday, so. Yeah, oh yeah, traffic's a brutal, and today there's no rain, so there's more people out than normal.
But I'll send you the lines to you, and
Okay.
I'll find you well.
Oh, you will. I know, I'm not worried.
All right, thank you for
Okay.
calling.
Yeah, God bless you. Bye-bye.
You too, bye-bye. call.
All right, we'll get started. We'll get started. And is right, everlasting kingdom. Intercession number 9 is correct. And I'll check 7. I'll check the rest later. Anyhow, we're going to start. Just you and me, so I don't have to worry about you talking back, do I? Okay. That's okay. I wish you could talk back and ask questions when you need to. I always love people to ask questions. But tonight we start another chapter, Lucifer, the Luciferian chapter on Lucifer. Lucifer. Oh, you're texting me again. Good, you're listening. Very good. Yeah, because we can't lose. It's not fair to you. It's not fair because somebody doesn't show up not to have classes all the time. They may not come back. Not the first one to drop out. Okay. A couple drop out. Again, for different reasons, but it does happen. If you've got your book, I think you do, this is the page we're looking for. It says Lucifer, and you got the picture, and it shows you a little bit. It's one of Larkin's great pictures. I think it's Larkin, I'm not sure. I have it there in the anyhow, that book shows a little bit about angelology. We go to Job 38:7. Job 38:7. Okay. Father, I just come right now and thank you for this night. Thank you for this opportunity to share your word. Teach the people you sent to be taught, who have a heart to hear your word, have a heart to follow you. Father, I just give you the glory and honor as things accomplished. I pray the Holy Spirit, the words will come forth and lead us into this truth. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen. Job 38. Job 1. Job 38. We'll get it. 38:7. It's on your chart in a tiny picture there, but you might want to write it down bigger. 38:7 says this. When God challenges Job, when the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy. So in the first creation, when God created the angels, all the angels, including Lucifer, by the way, they all did what? They all shouted for joy. They were all worshiping and fellowshipping together, worshiping God, and they were all together. They sang together. So Lucifer was right along with him. He was not created evil. He was not created with any bad thing in him, as we'll see in a few moments how that all came about. So everything was perfect. Just like when God made the garden. Everything in it was good, including the serpent. Of course, we know the serpent fell because he ate of the tree first, which he shouldn't have done, and was contaminated and made Satan his head. And again, we always ask this question: the knowledge of good and evil, that tree in the garden, what knowledge of the evil did it carry? Well, the first creation, the fall of Lucifer and Satan's kingdom. That's what it carried. And the serpent, he ate of it, and he convinced Eve to eat too. So that's how it was passed down. Because the serpent was already dying. He's a goner. So we see, excuse me, when God created the angels, they were all perfect. They were all in perfect harmony. They sang together. They were joyful. And they worshiped God, their creator. And God calls them sons. We're sons of God, but he called the angels sons of God at that time. But then we see this anointed cherub, Lucifer, and we go to Ezekiel 38. This is the beginning of who and what he is. Ezekiel 38, verse 28. Excuse me, not 38. 20, I'm sorry, 28. Ezekiel 28. Put it right here yet. It's on your chart so you can see it. Ezekiel 28. So now we begin to see into the distant past. We see how the past that God had created and how everything was going on there. Verse 12. It says, Son of man, take up a lamentation upon the king of Tyrus. So at first you would think this is a human king, a human potentate, a human ruler. It is not. Thus saith the Lord, Thou sealest up the sum full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. The word here, so we see this is not, can't be a human, because as we read on, but he says seal up the sum. Well, that means, as you see, to set a seal upon, perfect in form. So he was made perfect in every way, perfect in form, full of wisdom. He was a multitude and skilled with wisdom. He was a skilled worker, so to speak. Of course, the one thing that was over him was the Prince of Wisdom, which is the highest created being there is, him. And then perfect in beauty means just that. He was complete, nothing lacking. He had perfect beauty, to crown, to splendor, brightness, and he was the guy. He was the shiniest one. And he was a cherub, by the way, the anointed cherub. Well, nowadays when you see cherub, it's on Valentine's Day, and some little baby flying around, the wings on, and the bow and arrow, and he strikes you with that arrow, and you fall in love. Well, that's wrong. That's arrow, what they call in Greek, eros, love, sexual love, and it's not. So, but Lucifer was a cherub. We see that. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. Now wait a minute. How could he be in Eden, in the garden of God? Because Eden, at least the Eden Adam was in, Satan wasn't in it. He wasn't. So every precious stone was thy covering: the sardius, the topaz, the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, the carbuncle, gold. The workmanship of thy tabors and thy pipes was prepared in thee, and in thee thou was created. So, how could he be in the Garden of Eden? Ding, ding, ding. Good question. Here's the answer. Go to Ecclesiastes chapter 1. You're going to find something that a lot of people don't want to admit exists, but God's telling us how this works. In Ecclesiastes chapter 1, starting at verse 9, we see this. The things that have been, it is that which shall be. That which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. Verse 10. For there is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It hath been already of old time. Old time, see, so it's referring back to the first creation right there, old time, which was before us. There is no remembrance of the former things, so they didn't have a remembrance of those former things. Neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come with those things that came after. So what this shows us here is there was a Garden of Eden in the first creation. And Lucifer, who was the ruler over this galaxy, the earth and everything, of course, was in that garden, which was on the earth at that time. It's kind of a hard one to swallow, but here it is. It says right there, it's old time. It has already been, already. So when God began to recreate with Adam, all he did is he recreated the garden again. Everything in the Old Testament, everything in the first creation, a lot of it was recreated again as a recreation. Now in Ecclesiastes chapter 3:15, another verse, which confirms this, that which hath been is now. So wait a minute, that which was is now. That's pretty good. And that which is to be hath already been. So it was already once there. And God requires that which is past. So you see, God required a God. So there you go. That's how Satan or Lucifer was in the Garden of Eden, because there was the first Garden of Eden. And to help understand this, this is the first creation. First creation. And of course, we know this creation was the void, the darkness on it. That's what it became, and I should say what it became. And then we have this here, the second creation with Adam. That's the best way to understand it. So in this first creation, as it says here, there was an Eden. That's right, I spelled it right. Eden, not Eden, no A there, sorry. Eden. There was an Eden there. And then when God recreates again, he makes another Eden. Why don't you put A's in here? Another Eden. The first Eden and the second Eden. And we could put this here, Ecclesiastes, 3:15, easy way to remember it. There you go. Proves it. Proves it. So as we see here, the king of Tyrus was Lucifer, is Satan, and that's what he was, the prince over the earth, as we'll see as we go on. So here, the precious stones are coverings to cover, protect, to join, to come together. So these stones were set in what we call taberts, and everybody say, "Oh, that means Satan had music. He made music." No, wrong. Because if you look up in your concordance, you'll find it under that word, the root word, anyhow. Taberts, a hollow in which a gem is set. So, and remember, in heaven, again, this is all stuff that was in heaven. I don't know what color to use. Okay. An ephod was worn by the priests. I'm sure in heaven Jesus wears one too, something to that effect. And there were stones in it, as we know. Now these are not the same. I'm just going to do this kind of. These are not the same stones as for Judah, tribes of Judah, but basically they were set. They were set, and since Lucifer, in this creation, there was, as we'll get to in a moment, there were two things, major things. As we'll say, there was a temple, and there was a throne. And Lucifer sat on the throne, ruling this universe here, and he was also the high priest over the temple, and everybody for 4 billion, 4.5 billion years worship God. They worship God. And that's what Lucifer was doing. He was the high priest over that in that temple, and everybody worshiped God, you know, and he worshiped God, they worshiped God. And, you know, what could be accomplished in 4 billion years? A lot, trust me, a lot. If you had 4 billion years just to worship God, no evil, no nothing blocking you, what could you become? It goes way beyond anything we can imagine. Let me tell you, it does. And there is, in the fossil records, there is some of this, and the artifacts have been found. In that 4 billion years, a lot went on, and that society advanced to, you know, huge advances. But anyhow, the word Taber's here. Now, if you look at, I made a little note there, a copy of what was in the concordance. Now, pipes, hollows, settings, and is a jeweler's work prepared to exist or to be. Now, a timbrel or tabor can also mean a drum or what we call the tabor, the thing shaker back there. But in Ezekiel 28:13, it says the bezel or hollow in which a gem is set. So that's what it's talking about here. So he was given and was prepared indeed the day that thou was created. So he was created to worship God. He was created to be a priest to lead others to worship God. That's what he did. That's what he was supposed to do. Verse 14 says, "Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth." So the word anointed here means expansion, spread forth, outstretched wings, anointed to consecrate. Cherub, the covering, I have set thee so. Thou wast upon the holy mountain of God. Thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. So this anointed cherub was created to worship God from day one. And he also was over the throne. He actually was over the light, over the Shekinah glory. His job was to kind of protect that light. And during his reign, as most of God's princes rule over things. You know, they have kingdoms they rule over throughout his universe. And this is hard for a lot of people to fathom, but that's the way it really is. In Isaiah, we see more about these kingdoms. Princes. These are princes. And because their work or their names are not what we recognize, we just kind of think, oh, righteousness. Well, that is a prince. That's right. Matter of fact, I'll show you that. And it's in Isaiah 11, if I remember correctly. And I have to try to remember this stuff sometimes. I mean, I don't know everything in the Bible. Trust me, I don't. Isaiah 11. "And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and out of the branch, and a branch shall grow out of his root. And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom." Well, we know wisdom is a prince, and an understanding, that's a prince. Counsel, that's a prince. Might, that's a prince. Knowledge is a prince. Fear of the Lord is a prince. And also, so those are princes that rule. And remember when in Job, when Satan was wandering around the earth, and he comes before the throne of God with the rest of the princes to show themselves. In other words, they have to they're called to account. Every once in a while they appear before God and they give account of what they're doing with their kingdom and their thing. And Lucifer, or Satan, he was a fallen prince, he was a prince, so he was allowed to go there. And of course, as we know, he stands before the throne of God to this very day, accusing the brethren. He's allowed to be there because he's a prince in his fallen kingdom, but he's still a prince. And God uses him. Yeah, he's being used. He probably doesn't like that, but he is. So there we see this this creature, or Lucifer, was, and it says verse 15. "Thou was perfect in thy ways from the day that thou was created." So God created him perfect. He didn't create it. You know, I've heard nonsense said, oh, God created him and he had evil created in him. No, he did not. He did not. Thou was perfect. The word perfect is truth, undefiled, complete in his ways from the day I was created, till iniquity. And what is iniquity? It's moral evil. iniquity, perverseness, unjust, unrighteousness, wickedness was found or appeared in him. How did that happen? Well, see, everything was good until one day this appeared in him, this iniquity, and God named it as iniquity. It was rebellion, but he named it as iniquity. And he explains, it's being explained here how this came about. By the multitude of thy merchandise, they have filled thee, the midst of thee, with violence. One thing that Lucifer did is he had a command over a large amount of the angels. And he was giving orders. God would give him orders and he'd pass them on. That's what princes do, by the way. In God's kingdom, princes have rulers under them and they pass, goes down, down, down. But the head prince will appear before the throne, and when they come and they give account and they're given orders or whatever, and they go back and spread it down, it goes down the line. It's a well-organized kingdom. It's well ordered. There is no chaos in that kingdom. So we see this, and merchandise here is travel or traffic, and they filled the midst of thee with violence, and that word violence is cruelty, wrong, false, cruel, damage, injustice, or oppressor, and has sinned, led astray. Therefore, 16, did I get that? Yeah, therefore, verse 16, I will destroy thee. So there's the judgment against Lucifer. I'm going to destroy you. I will cast thee, okay, verse 16, I will cast thee as profane out of the mountain. And the word profane here is defiled, polluted, or desecrated. So he was defiled. The defilement came by self-determination. That's what it was. It was he determined it. He got to the place when he obviously for 4 billion years he thought about this one way or another, and he came to the place and thought, because, well, look, I have all these things following me, so why do I need God anymore? Basically, is what he said. And that was and of course he began to come forth with this perverse ideas, and God says, well, that's perversity, and that's sin, and led astray, profane. I will destroy thee. The word destroy here is perish, die, be exterminated. God was going to exterminate him. That's pretty clear. God wasn't going to monkey around with him. He'd had it. Oh, covering, and that word covering is protect, cover, defend, defense, hedge in, join together, set, shut up. Cherub, the covering cherub, the one who was a hedge, who was a defense, who was over the throne of God, the light. He was a light bearer. Light bearer. The cherub, and a cherub's an angelic being. It's one of the angelic beings. There's all different classes of angels. There's seraphim. There is cherubs. There are other classes. There's warrior angels. Michael's a warrior angel. He's the head warrior angel. There's messenger spirit. There's messenger angels like Gabriel. That's what he does. Carries, he's the head of all that. And there's probably others too that we don't know much about. In the book of Enoch and Jasher and Jubilee, it explains a little more about them. And from the midst of the stones of fire. The stones of fire possibly means the other angels, certain angels. I'm not sure, but I don't really know what that refers to exactly. But he was in the midst, so that kind of means that they looked at them, and God looked at them as stones of fire. They're the ones that carried the power into the kingdom. Verse 17, thy heart. The word heart here was lifted up. The word heart is soul, mind, will, understanding. So this tells us something here. Angels have souls. Well, that's a revelation, isn't it? They have a spirit, they have a soul, and they have a body. Why? And what did God call them? Sons. Sons. So they were created like they had these attributes. And of course they had souls, because what did Lucifer do with his soul? He made a self-determination. So he had free will. They have free will. Angels have free will. And in the rebellion, 1/3 chose to leave. 2/3 chose to stay by choice. By choice. That's why they're so innumerable. You can imagine how many left and how many were there. But again, angels make a choice. They have free will. They have a choice. Matter of fact, every angel has his own individual name. He has his own individual language. And they probably can understand one another, but they do. And that's why God says He lets us have the tongue of men and angels. So your tongue that the Holy Spirit language that God gives you can be an angelic tongue. We wouldn't know it. You know. And there are over 3,000 human tongues. You might even have a human tongue and don't even know it. I know in some of the times when I would pray in tongues for long periods of time when I was first baptized, I actually one night went in at 10 o'clock or 9 something and started praying in tongues, and it just went on and on and on, and I thought, oh, maybe an hour or two. When I got done, it was almost 3 o'clock in the morning. But during that period of time, I recognized different, it changed. The Holy Spirit was just changing. I recognized Oriental, I recognized Spanish, I recognized some Italian because I had learned a little bit of Italian, and other languages. It just kept changing one thing, but it was a tremendous time of God building me up and edifying. And that was a great experience to go through all that. And I thought I was there like an hour or so. I couldn't believe it. 5 hours, like 5 hours there, and it seemed like minutes, So I didn't want to leave, but I finally had to quit. And it was around 3 o'clock, somewhere in that range. Anyhow, going on. So we see he had a soul, and they have souls, because when God burned up Lucifer, He took the soul and put it in the dragon, and He changed him from light bearer to adversary. And he took the soul and put it in the dragon body. Because the soul is eternal. Even angelic souls are eternal. Oh yeah. Was lifted up because of thy beauty. That's splendor, brightness, or beauty. So not only did he have all this traffic, but he was so proud of him. In other words, pride set in. You got to think, wow, I'm shiny. I'm the most beautiful created being. Why, and he began to think, make the choice. I can be God. What do we need God for anymore? That was his corrupted mindset. Has corrupted thy wisdom. See, and God says it's corrupted your wisdom, boy. You are stupid. Basically, you're being stupid. How do you think you're going to do anything? Because I created you. You didn't create anything. And you're just a created being, and yet you think you're going to be above the Creator. You're nuts. Can the pot say to the potter, oh, I want to be something different? No. Whack, smash, and break it and build something else. Well, God did too. He broke them and built something else. Sorry. I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee before kings, that they may behold thee. Wait a minute. Stop the presses, boys. Kings, which means what? There had to be kingdoms. There had to be governments. There had to be population. Because remember, this is still the first creation. We haven't got here yet, and definitely this didn't come about until way after this, about 500 million years later, give or take. So this is all over here. Whoa. Yeah. So we see we have in this here we have kingdoms. And what's that represent? Governments. Governments ruled by monarchies. And they patterned it after God in heaven. So we have kingdoms. Monarchy here. Reading on. That they may behold thee. So God says, I'm gonna throw you down, I'm going to burn you up. I'm going to get rid of you. You're going to be gone. And then verse 18 says, thou hast defiled thy sanctuaries. So here we go, the sanctuaries. Well, that word is especially a palace, a sanctuary, a holy place. That's right. The thrones that we talked about here in the temple. The throne, by the way, guess where that throne was? There was a city there, and it was called this. As we'll show you. Babylon. The first Babylon was in the first creation. There it was. Babylon. And the temple was built as a ziggurat. That's probably not spelled right, but ziggurat. The ziggurat's like this, layer upon layer. And this is how heaven is built, by the way, just like a ziggurat. Looks like that. And it was a copy of the kingdom of heaven. It's built the same way. The city up there is built the same way. Thou hast defiled thy sanctuaries by the multitude of thine iniquities, by the iniquity of thy traffic. Therefore I'll bring forth, now this is how God's going to deal in, I'm going to bring forth a fire from the midst of thee. Now there is a condition here on earth where humans burn up from the inside out. Suddenly their internal body core temperature rises to such a state it causes spontaneous combustion. You may have heard of it. And people are burned alive from the inside out. This poof, and then that's it, they're gone. Well, God, this is where it first came from. God had a fire come out of him and burn him up. And the I shall devour thee, it shall devour thee. Well, it's going to totally gone. And I will bring thee to ashes. And ashes means bestow ashes upon the earth in the sight of all them that behold thee. So God's going to throw them down on the earth before all those he's ruled. He's going to burn them up completely. That beautiful body's gone. It becomes ashes, and the wind blows it away. He's going to be blown away. And then, of course, he floods the whole earth, so there'll be nothing left. Verse 19, let's see more about this. And they that know thee among the people. So now, we see something else here. There are people here. People. What they look like, don't know. But I suspect they look a lot like us. I mean, they were created probably in same like an image like us. Because when God made the God race, Adam, he also made 4 other races. And that's where when Cain went to the land of Nod and found a wife, it's from those other 4 races. The God race, God was raising up, gave them dominion over everything. They were going to take the message of the kingdom of God and share it with the others. That was God's ultimate, I believe, God's ultimate plan, but because of the fall, that did never happen that way. And ultimately they did. Ultimately Adam and the God race did take that message to the world. You read about it in the book of Enoch, a lot about it. Among the people, and the word people here is nations, people shall be astonished. So we see another thing. There's people, I shouldn't be writing, I can't hardly, I'm out of room here. Nations. So they were nations, which means there were different types of peoples that Lucifer was ruling over. All this in his first creation. All this shall be astonished. And the word astonishing means to stun, to grow numb, to be devastated, figuratively stupefied, both usually in a passive sense. Make, amazed, be astounded at thee. Thou shalt be a terror, sudden terror, destruction, calamity, dreadful event, and never shalt thou be anymore. So he was going to become a sudden, it would be sudden, boom, down you go, boom, burn, you're gone. End of, done in. And he says, you'll never be any more. Lucifer will never ever be again. The Luciferian doctrine that we learned about in the first course as we know, Lucifer, Satan's going to come back. He thinks he's going to come back as Lucifer. He is not. He can't. He's going to deceive everybody to make them believe. But he can't, because Lucifer is gone. And he can't get rid of his dragon body. God isn't going to let him out of it. So there we have the first glimpse of what's going on here. Lucifer, he was a high priest. He ruled over these kingdoms, and he led everybody to worship God for 4.5 or 4 billion years. That's a long time, folks. Gee, we can't even hardly fathom it. We can't even hardly fathom it. If you just flip back for a second to the last chapter, and you go to the page here, the geologic time scale, now you begin to see this in a little more understanding, a little more light, and that's the page you need to go to if you're having trouble finding it. There you go. And you look where it says origin of the Earth, origin of the solar system. Scientists, through different methods and through the fossil record, have pretty well proven this. The Earth is at least 4.6 billion years old, at least. Maybe a lot older, I don't know. And it's called the Hadean time. Genesis 1:1. There we go, is involved, but not there. And Lucifer's fall was at 542 billion years, million years. So for 4 billion years, they all worship God. All this was going on for 4 billion years. You can imagine what that society was. They do have artifacts from there. And they don't know what they got. Most of them, they can't understand it, but they do find any artifacts. You can look it online, and they have carved in wood out of stone and everything, and reliefs. Shows flying machines. It shows people in machines flying. It shows communication systems, fantastic communication systems. And their method of propulsion back then, and how they flew, was with frequencies and magnetic fields. And they could just float right up, boom. And then when they'd create a field, and they'd slide across it at huge, tremendous speeds, like nothing. Nothing. And they could go from place to place and, pretty fast, real fast. Those are some of the artifacts they found. And the government has one, especially a relief. And on the relief, it is a how-to relief, right? It gets to the place when it tells them how to make this stuff, and gets the government, they cut that section out. They don't want you to know it. They don't want you to know, because that technology would completely change our society today. The whole world would be changed for good. There would be no more oil barons or robber barons. There'd be no more electric thieves. There'd be no more any of this stuff. And society would progress at such a fantastic rate. Of course, they don't want you to know that. And there are other things. But anyhow, it's in the record. It's in the record. And there is so much about the earth that we don't know. There are things left over that can't be explained, and they hide it from us, like the petrified giants. We know that. And then the petrified creatures. And I'll say this: they have a petrified elephant, they have a petrified snake, a petrified dolphin. And you say, well, that's small. No, it's not. The dolphin is as big as an island. The elephant is as big as a mountain. And the serpent is as big as a huge island. And the giants go anywhere from up to 60 feet tall. And they're petrified. And of course, that's just the ones petrified. Then you have all the ones they have the skeletons of and everything that they've hid from you. They didn't want you to know that. The giants are real, and they're alive today, and they're coming back, and not for good either. Because they're demonic creatures. They are offspring, and it's another whole story. I'm getting into that. But anyhow, so now you see on this chart, now it makes sense. See? So for 4 billion years, Lucifer was reigning. He was doing this thing until he fell at this point up here. And that's eons, Phaeozoic, and in that Phaeozoic period, all the rest of this comes into play. And as you see, the Cambrian explosion was about 542 million years ago, and that's where Lucifer fell. We believe now, fell. Because up to that point in the fossil record there was nothing, and then suddenly, instantly, overnight almost, you have dead fossils everywhere, and that's because God flooded it out here. And of course that's all in the record. It's all in the record. And of course you have creationists that run around yelling, oh, it's just 6,000 years old, oh, that's all fake, no, the science are, no, the science are right, you guys are wrong. Because you don't believe the Word of God. You don't believe what's right here, right in front of you, and here it is, the first creation. And because Ecclesiastes tells us this. And you don't want to believe it. Why? Well, it's because you have your own agenda. That's your thing. So anyhow, going back. Go back to Lucifer here. Now we come to Isaiah 14. Isaiah 14. These are the two main scriptures, books in the Bible concerning this whole issue. Isaiah 14. Starting at verse 12. Verse 12. This is the I wills of Lucifer. This is the other side of the coin. We see in Ezekiel 28 the end of Lucifer, but by the time he fell, to the time God burned him up and wiped him out, something happened. Something happened. So there was a time period here. So here we have a nutshell of what happened, but now we're going to get into the details of what happened. And verse 12 says, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? That word Lucifer means light bearer, to be praised, to be made praiseworthy, to command, be worthy of praise, son of the morning. Now, in the Black Book of Witchcraft, called the NIV, and that's exactly what it is, this is where the main thing, if you want to show somebody, and why you cannot follow this, because you'll be worshiping Satan if you do. In Isaiah 14 here, this is what this says. It says, now we just read it here in the King James, or in the Textus Receptus, and how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. Over here it says, how art thou fallen from heaven. Takes Lucifer out, O morning star. As you see, he was a light bearer, but he was in the morning star. But if you go to Revelation 22, and you can flip it if you want, and especially in this here, verse 16, and you can even read it because they actually quoted this verbatim. I, Jesus, have sent my angel to give you this testimony for the churches. I am the root and offspring of David, and the bright morning star. Who is the bright morning star? Jesus Christ. Now you go back over here in Black Book of Witchcraft. Lucifer is still sitting in heaven as God, and it says, O morning star, son of the dawn, how is that? How you have been cast down to the earth, you who once laid low the nations. You see what they've done? They got you worshiping Satan as God. Lucifer is God. Because now they say Jesus was cast out. Jesus fell. The morning star. That's the heresy of it. And so therefore, anybody who follows this is worshiping Satan. And that's why I just give for a reference. I don't burn it. Actually burn the things. Anyhow, how art thou cut down to the ground which had weakened the nations? Here we have this again. Nations and people. Again, it's said, for thou hast said in thine heart, in thy heart. Well, what heart are we talking about? In his soul. He made that self-determination. Inner man, mind, will, heart, soul, understanding, the intellect, will, and emotions. There it is. Angels have intellect, will, and emotions. Yes, they do. Oh, yeah. We know that from the Old Testament. God told the Israelites, when you go into as they were going to the wilderness, he says, I'm going to send my angel before you. There was an angel, went before them. And he said, they were told, do not disobey him, because he is not forgiving. So he was a hard angel. In other words, you will do what I say, or else you're going to suffer consequences. So it shows he had emotion, and he was not forgiving. But yet when Gabriel came to Mary, he was totally kind, pleasant, and forgiving. See, so again, they do it, and they will obey what God tells them to do. And then, of course, was there ever a man that wrestled with an angel? Yes, there was. You might know it, Jacob. And he wouldn't let go. He wrestled with the angel, grabbed onto him, and of course, lots of luck with that, pal, because one angel can kill 100,000 men. I don't know what he's wrestling with, but he wrestled with him all night. Wouldn't let him go. He wanted the blessing from God. And finally, in the morning, the angel touched his side and put his hip out of joint. And and so he limped from that day forward, but he got his blessing. And of course, Israel came out of Jacob, the nation of Israel, all the 12 tribes. Okay. Looking down, did we get the nations? He said, I will. So here we have the 5 I wills. Self-determination. I will, I will, I will, I will. So I can erase this now. Because this you have to know. The 5 I wills you must know. You must memorize them. It will be on tests. You will have to write it down. You'll have to know them. Very few people, unfortunately, know them. I will. As you see on your page, I have the 5 I wills. And this is what he said. I will ascend into heaven. Number 1. I'll write them down. Look. I will ascend. Rise up into heaven. Heaven. First one. I will exalt my throne. So now he's going to go to heaven. He's going to make his throne. Exalt my throne above the stars. Stars. Who are the stars? Angels. What's the number 1 angel he wants to put under his feet? It's wisdom, because wisdom was greater than him. So here he's going to put himself above wisdom. He obviously he didn't like wisdom. The stars of God. There it was. See, that's why he's doing that. Because wisdom was higher than him, and he wasn't going to have anybody under him. I will sit. I will sit. Upon the mount of congregation. There's the mount of congregation. Who sat on that mount, by the way? The princes of God sat there, the rulers. In the book of Revelation, under the new creation, or whatever, you have the elders, the 24 elders around the throne. They sit. But this here was before them. Unless they came out of the first creation, don't know for sure. But anyhow, and of course that congregation is in the north, inside of north. There we go. They sit in the congregation the sides of the north, and that's why he was going to be the ruler of that council over all of them too. That's what he thought. And he goes, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. Above heights clouds. And of course the last one, I will. See, self-determination all the time. I will be like the Most High. That has got to be the ultimate deception right there. I'm going to be, you know, I can take God down. That's what he's saying. I'm going to be like you. I'm going to be higher than him. I'm going to be like him. You know, I'm going to do everything. I can do everything. You can do it better. Not really. So anyhow, ascend above the heights of clouds and be like the Most High. So there you have the 5 I wills. You need to know those. You need to know those. Verse 15. Yet, and now God says, okay, are you done? Are you done blabbing away, Lucifer? Because guess what? You should be brought down to hell, Sheol, underworld, grave, hell, pit, wicked, sent there for punishment to the sides of the pit, dungeon or prison. You were brought down to a prison. Now, that has not happened yet, but God's prophesying. Because during the millennial reign, where's Satan? He's bound to it. Michael comes down, chains him up, throws him in to the bottomless pit. He's chained there for 1,000 years. That's the beginning of his prison, his dungeon. And this is what's going. God's saying, "Oh, this is what's going to happen to you. You're going to go down to that hell for 1,000 years. You're going to suffer in it." That's just the beginning, boy. That's just the beginning. You know. Verse 16. They that see thee shall nearly look upon thee and consider, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble? Now we see what Lucifer did when he was first cast out. He was angry. And there was war in heaven. He was thrown out. Yeah. God said, I'll show you. Out you go, boy. Down you go. He's cast down to the earth. I'm going to draw this black. There's the earth. He's cast down. Down he goes. Cast down to the earth. Okay? Down here, of course, all those things are in play. There was kingdoms. There was people. There was all this stuff. And he made the earth to tremble, to quiver, make with a violent emotion, especially anger or fear. Be afraid, stand in awe, disquiet, fall out, fret, move, provoke, quake, rage, shake, tremble. Tremble, trouble, or be wroth. So he brought fear upon the earth. Upon all people, kingdoms. He comes down, he's mad. So he comes down to destroy. Oh yeah. Thou did shake, that's mutilate as the earth, the sky, particularly through fear. So use fear specifically to make afraid, to quake, to shake, to make to tremble the kingdoms. So he made them all fearful. Dominion, kingdom, reign, kings, reign, and royal. So all the rulers were made to bow down, or else. And then it goes on to say, that made the earth, verse 17 here, that made the earth, that made the world, the earth, a moist and thereby uninhabited, by extension the globe, by implication the inhabitants specifically, as a wilderness. He came down and destroyed the earth. How did he do it though? I'll show you in a minute. By implication, a desert and destroyed, to tear down, break down, overthrow, beat down, break through, destroy, pluck down, pull down, throw down, ruin, destroy utterly the cities. Well, they're good. He come against the cities. Why did he do this? Because there was a remnant who followed him, but the majority who've been worshiping God for 1 billion years said, sorry, no way, Hosea, are we going to do that. And so he came down and destroyed them. How did he do it? nuclear devices. There was the angels brought nuclear. They knew how to make his fallen angels. They knew how to make nuclear devices, and he brought down fire, these devices, and destroyed whole cities, the whole earth, almost boom, 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 boom. And and to prove this, there are sites on the earth today that go back to that time, 500 million years ago, and there's still radiation. For no reason, there's still radiation. They've detected the radiation. So as you read about in Jasher and Enoch, it talks about this destruction and about how they used nuclear devices, and they just killed everybody, everything, wiped them out. And he made the whole earth what? A desert, pretty much. Wiped out the cities that opened not the house of his. So he made them all prisoners or captive, those which are bound prisoners, and he took them all captive. All the kings of the nations. So here we go again, verse 18. Kings, nations, all of them lie in glory, everyone in his own house. So he killed all those who would not worship Lucifer, and he came down with wrath, and he just wiped them out. Thou art cast out of thy grave, verse 19, like an abominable branch, and as the remnant of those that are slain, thrust through with a sword, that go down to stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden under feet. That's what he did. He killed them all, most all of them, but not all. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people. Okay, so that's what he did. The seed, offspring, descendant, posterity, children of evildoers shall never be renowned. So there was a seed, there was a remnant who still worshipped him. He didn't kill them off. You know, he needed worshipers, and so he allowed a remnant. Shall never be evildoers shall never be renowned. That's to summon, to invite, call for, call, and commission, appoint, call, or endow. So there was that who survived on this. And God says, prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers. So he said, these are evil people. Now they're worshiping Satan, and they've accepted his rebellion, or Lucifer. They become like him, that they do not rise nor possess the land nor fill the face of the world with cities. So in other words, he says, if I don't wipe them out, then this is going to rise, and they're going to build a whole kingdom of evil, and then who knows where that's going to go. And God says, for I will rise up against them, saith the Lord of hosts. God says, I'm going to rise up against them. I'm not going to allow this. And cut off from Babylon. Ding, 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 ding. There you go. Babylon. There you go. That's where Satan ruled from, the first Babylon. That's where his throne was. That's where his temple was. And obviously he hadn't destroyed Babylon. He destroyed everything else, but not that. The name, the remnant, the son, the nephew, saith the Lord. It's the first Babylon. The second Babylon is over here when Nimrod built it. and that was a repeat through the fallen angels giving them the direction to how to build it, but to rebuild again what was cast down over here. And Ecclesiastes tells us this, that what was before, it comes again. And of course people had no knowledge of it because God blanked them out, so they wouldn't know where it came from. There it came from. So Babylon was the main city here. Babylon, and he says, and now we go on to verse 23, and this is what God does. See, God will also make it a possession to seize, dispose, take possession of, inherit, disinherit, occupy, impoverish, be an heir for the bidden. So in other words, Lucifer now was no longer ruler over that kingdom. God took it back. He's cast down, burned up, comes to ashes, and now this, his ashes blowing around the earth at this point. And this is sometime between when Lucifer did this and then he was cast down. In here there's time frames we don't know about, but he was cast down and burned up and cut off. Or maybe he came down as the dragon. I don't know. It's very possible. And the bit, and it says contract rule here to cut off, and pools, meaning to collect as water, of water. So God says, now I'm going to raise up pools of water. I'm going to cover this whole thing with water. Lights out, flood it. Then Lucifer's ashes would never ever be again. Goes on to say, I will sweep it with the besom of destruction. That's broom, besom, broom. To destroy, exterminate, destroy, to be exterminated, says the Lord of hosts. That's how come the earth became void and without form, because of the first rebellion. And God says, in verse 23, I'm going to flood it and kill everything. Nothing will be left, nothing. And of course, the people who had not worshipped Satan were killed, but they were with God. Their souls and spirits were taken to God. So, anyhow, that's how we get to the place in Genesis chapter 1, verse 2. And if you just look there for a moment, all this to get to this place, these two chapters to bring you to this place, and now you understand. And the earth, and the word is the wrong word there, is became. This is what it was, and it became this without form and void and darkness. So not only did God take away this, He turned the lights out. And the darkness here wasn't just lack of illumination, it was the void, total void of God. Total darkness, no God. No light, no nothing. Zip. Zip, zip, zip. As a matter of fact, our whole galaxy, by the way, at one time was alive. Lucifer ruled over the whole thing here. It wasn't just the earth. That was his headquarters. It was the rest here too. And that's why of course the government hides this from us all, hides it from you all the time. There are, I'm trying to say the word, NASA's filmed it, so you know it's there, and if you know some of the pictures that they leak out once in a while, people actually, they try to hide it. They photograph bases, buildings, pyramids. The moon had a base on it at one time, made out of glass. Huge, huge thing. And when they took the pictures, were taken by the astronauts up there, they actually found shards of broken, this glass stuff, stuck in the ground. And when they filmed it with the cameras they had, it showed like in the background, like a hidden background, and you can see it. So NASA then doctored all the pictures so people couldn't see it. And there's a lot more to this whole story about what's up there. My word, there's bases and there's some things. When Lucifer was when Satan was cast out and all his angels, well, they had to go somewhere, didn't they? They just didn't vanish into nowhere. Yeah, they did. There's hidden bases on moons on the backside of Mars, in one place, and on it goes. And there's places on the moon we were told that we're told not to go there by aliens. Made contact, says don't go there or else we'll wipe you out. And of course these are hybrids, and these are fallen angels and all that stuff. They aren't extraterrestrials from outer space. No, it's all part of this. That's what it is. But that's how we got to this place here, where the earth became meaning it had to be something without form and void. Darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the waters. See, so waters had to be created. There was a face of the deep, and there was an earth underneath it, and then there was no light. So He may have turned the sun out. I don't know exactly, but you know, there was darkness. There it was. That's what this chapter on Lucifer is all about. That's how we get to this place. And then we have the whole thing we learned in the first course about how God began to recreate with Adam. Now you see, there was a Garden of Eden here in the first creation. There were cities and kingdoms and people. Babylon was a ruling city in that kingdom. In the first creation, that's where Lucifer ruled from. And there was a temple there. It was built like a ziggurat, and as far as ziggurat is nothing more than just what the heaven looks like on a miniature of it. And there we have it. So that's the chapter on Lucifer. That's how we get this chart right here. First creation, this is how we get became. Became without form and void. And that's it. And it's all right here in the scripture. I hope that I showed it all to you. That it is the Word of God. And God wants us to know this. Now you know where your enemy comes from. Now you know how things are the way they really are. That's what He wants. Because the next chapter will start next time. By the way, let's see, this is next Monday. You'll have another quiz on Lucifer chapter. As we do a chapter, we're going to get a quiz on it. Now this course will probably be somewhat shorter, of course, than the first one. Absolutely. The next chapter we start with 1 Thessalonians 5:23. We get into the really important part of this course. The very, and you've done some of this because when you were here physically, you actually started where we're going to start next time. So it'll be a little repeat, and it'll help you. But now you've caught up in a sense, and but now you understand. I hope you understand and see just what really went on and how the story of creation. Sorry. And what really going on. And the Earth is 4 billion years old, at least 4.5 billion years. And we are 6,000. We're actually 13,000. From Adam to Christ was 13,000 years. Now, let me check that for a moment exactly. I know they try to list. If you go online, you'll go nuts because everybody's got their own idea of the timelines. The best I could come up with, I felt was probably the closest to the truth. Was over here in the family line. About 13,000 years ago, Adam was created. Between 10 to 13,000 years. Semiramis and that came along about 6,000 years. And then Christ, of course, at 11,000 years. About 11,000 years there, plus or minus, in 133 AD. So we have, and the creation was a literal 7 days, and then we have all this timeline down through, and you can see it in the first chart here in the first course prior to knowing about it anyhow. There it is, and you can see the timeline that we have up to Christ in 33 AD. So, Jesus was born, about it's about 13,000 years, give or take. And again, there are all different. You got the creationists come up with this, show 7,000 years. Yada. Well, no, it doesn't make sense for one reason, because all these people, like as you see in the family lines, there's thousands of years between them, and they all lived about 1,000 years, 800, 900. The shortest one was Enoch, and that's where he was taken. And there's a whole story about Enoch, and there's a lot more to all of that. Anyhow, so there you have that part, and then we go to see one part here to help understand this just a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Under Noah, you see you got Cain and Abel, and of course Cain slew Abel, and then you have Seth. Cain was born next. Enosh, Canaan, Mahali, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah. Well, there's about 1,000 years between every one of them. So how in the world could these people be alive after Noah? They couldn't. So it didn't make sense. Again, it depends who you follow online with that. And there's all different things. But I feel from the studies, the best is about 13,000 years from Christ. And so we're about 15,000 years from Adam. Because we're about 2,000 years from Christ, give or take. And kind of that's where it is. So, that's kind of where we end tonight. Hopefully that helps and gives you something to study there and read through, learn. But remember, you need to know the 5 I wills, and of course the rest of the story there. Might want to read through it again. I have in the book and all the definitions I put together the best I could for everybody. And it was a good class. Very good. Thank you, Sheila. You asked a lot of good questions tonight. Yes. And I hope you did well on your test. I'm sure you did. So I'm going to cut it there. Excuse me. And have a blessed night. Amen. Thanks for watching. Thanks for letting me teach you tonight. We'll probably do this again.